Tesla CEO Elon Musk has dubbed the H-1B visa system as broken and said it needs a major reform. Days after vowing to go to war to defend the system, which is used to allow foreign skilled workers to work in the US, Musk as well as Indian-American tech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy have recently clashed with supporters of US President-elect Donald Trump over the issue of immigration after many supporters increasingly pushed to scrap the H-1B visa program, which flared up after Trump chose Indian-American entrepreneur Sriram Krishnan as an advisor on artificial intelligence policy. The question then that arises is, what is going to be the H-1B policy in this new Donald Trump administration? Joining us live at this point is Pradeep Kapoor, former ambassador. We also have Pathikrit Pain, geopolitical analyst, joining us live. Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, is joining us on the broadcast. Sumit Peer, senior political commentator, also is with us live. Let me make a start with you first, Professor Nalapat. Confusion on H-1B, it seems, amongst Trump's team and supporters. What explains this clash of opinions?
Well, I have no idea what the individual motives are, but I would only like to say that the competition in the H-1B visa category has been between two nationalities mainly, Indians and Chinese. Chinese means from the PRC. So Indians from the Republic of India and from the PRC. So there's been a huge focus on Indians. And frankly, in a situation where security concerns are creating more and more problems for recruiting Chinese software people on the H-1B visa, this is very helpful to the Chinese because this basically shines the spotlight on India. The problem with the Chinese is that they are very much more prone, very many times, 100 times more prone than any other nationality to ensure that information is taken out from what they pick up in the United States and passed on to the PRC. That's not a problem that's been faced by Indian Americans or even by Indians. That kind of leakage is almost zero. So that is a very big situation. And secondly, I'd like to say that there are certainly problems with the H-1B visa. There's no question about it. Vivek Ramaswamy is right. Elon Musk is right. For example, I don't see why people should be paid a lower salary for doing the same work. No reason at all. In fact, the Indians who come from India, and I'm sure Indian Americans as well, we all know that statistically Indians work longer hours and harder than almost any other nationality. So quite frankly, I think there's a strong case for at least equaling salaries and not paying the H-1B visa holders a lower salary. That's my take initially on this.
All right, let me quickly go across to the others as well. Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor, what do you make of, the latest statements by Elon Musk over H-1B? What its ramifications are, of course, going forward?
Thank you, Uday. The situation in America is that there has been a lot of debate and a lot of discussions about meritocracy versus equity and DEI. Now, DEI has come under a lot of doubts and questions because under the garb of DEI, they try to promote mediocrity and discriminate against meritocracy, discriminate against brilliance. So a lot of colleges and a lot of companies try to give benefits on the basis of proportion of the population, for example, to different categories, different ethnic groups. Now, a lot of things came to light, including in universities like Harvard, including in some of the best schools and colleges, that how they were discriminating against the brighter students, even in terms of admissions, even in terms of awards. So, for example, if the numbers of the Indians who were doing extremely well was very high, they would, under the DEI quota, for example, they would try to discourage or not announce the awards. The lists, merit lists would be kept hidden. The principals would make announcements of lists which were not the correct lists. So lots of things have come to light in the recent few years. Whereas Vivek Ramaswamy and the others have been fighting that if America has to be great, if America has to prosper, if America has to do well, then the original principles of due recognition for merit, for hard work, and for all the good qualities which are brought by the right sort of people into the mix are very important. So that is the real core of the fight. Now, H1B visas is one manifestation of the same fight, in the sense that if you try to employ people or give immigration rights to people who are coming into the country without any basis of merit, or just on the basis of if you are able to cross the border and come in without any great education, what is the value that you're bringing into the US? What are you an asset? Are you a resource? Are you going to contribute to the economy? So that sort of thing can be analyzed better if there is some sort of system in place. Now, putting an H1B with meritocracy will help the US a lot. So the whole system has to be revamped, because there are people here who are the brightest minds and who are kept waiting for decades, even to get a green card. Now, this is what Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are trying to change, and that will benefit the US in a very big way. Because overall, just in a very brief nutshell, Uday, I'd like to mention that the contribution of the ethnic groups like the Indians is very recognized, very appreciated, as Professor Madhav Nalapat also said. They bring in a lot of good family values. They are very highly educated, the highest educated group in terms of any ethnic group. They contribute the maximum to the economy. They are the highest per capita earning groups. They also contribute a lot to the taxes. They are law abiding. They are compliant with the rules and regulations of the land. They are not filling up the jails. They are not indulging in drugs. So, in so many counts, these sort of groups are very positive contributors. What they are contributing to the economy is much more than what they are getting from the economy. So, if you have those sort of citizens who are being encouraged to come to the US, to stay, to work, and to contribute to the overall good of the country, it is naturally going to be a very big plus for the country in the future. So I think Trump is a very, a shrewd person. He's a very clever leader. He understands many facts. He may not be able to articulate it in the right way, but deep down, he has a gut feeling which sometimes is absolutely very good for the country. So the country will also realize this, that if he is, going to enunciate certain policies which are going to be good for the country in the long term, it is much better than opening up the borders to millions of immigrants who are not qualified. There are the numbers coming in even from China across the border has been very high as per the documents. So all that will have to be controlled if it is if the country has to prosper and go into a brighter future. Back to you there.
Yes, Patikrit Pine, come in here on, the H1B debate. Why such a debate over H1B? Why the diversion in opinion? Do we know what the H1B policy will be under Donald Trump? What's your hunch? What's your sense?
Uday, first of all, I have very high respect for the non-resident Indian community, but at the same time, let me tell you, first of all, again, they have huge contribution to India. They're extremely patriotic. But at the same time, let me tell you this. This is an American problem. Why are we discussing it? As an Indian sitting in India, I don't care actually what happens to the H-1B visa. Let me tell you the reason. America was not created by non-resident Americans. So for India, the debate should be that what should we do to ensure that the best of the meritorious people can stay back and contribute more towards this $4 trillion economy and take it to the $10 trillion mark. At the same time, with the highest respect to all the people who have, emigrated to United States and have done incredibly well, I think we are creating a false narrative that if you are meritorious, you have to go abroad. Today, India is going to launch at 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time 2 satellites of SpaceX by ISRO, which will be docking into the space. And it's a rare feat which only a couple of countries have been able to achieve. If India has been able to achieve that, that means that meritorious people have stayed back and done something for the country. And I would be very happy if there are restrictions on H-1B visa, and I'm not saying this only from the perspective of India, for every developing economy, eventually the objective has to be how they develop their own country to the next quantum leap. How they can take, not by, they should not be judged by how many people of their country have gone to United States to contribute to the American economy. And look, we are a great community. Of course we are. And that's why we have a 10,000-year-old civilization. So I think the whole narrative somewhere has to change. Yes, it would take time. I often hear people saying, India is not doing good, India is bad, so many people are leaving the country. Yes, there are problems. But please, at the last 10 years, the Prime Minister Modi and the team has done enormous amount of work to transform India from a $2 trillion economy to a $4 trillion economy. We are the fifth largest economy in the world. We have one of the cheapest, lowest, broadband price in the world. On several counts, we have emerged as the third largest ecosystem for startups in the world. People have stayed back and done. No disrespect to United States at the same time. They have done a lot of good things, but primarily because dollar is a reserve currency. That's why there's a easy availability of funds to create a startup, which is a little more difficult in developing countries, but things have changed. So again, high respect for the non-resident Indian community, but times have changed in many of the developing countries. I'm sure, and I can tell you, Donald Trump is a very intelligent person. Elon Musk is a very intelligent person. They're businessmen. They know the value of intelligent people coming to United States and adding to their, value chain. But at the same time, adding to the value chain. But at the same time, let us understand this: the American voters have voted for Donald Trump because they want the jobs to be protected for the Americans. So they would have their own perspective. Elon Musk may have a different perspective because he has a business to run. And at the same time, let me also reiterate that, this conflict eventually will continue to grow. Elon Musk as a businessman, or the business community, would have a very different perspective from the average American who wants jobs. Yes, we can keep on saying that the Americans are racist. We can keep on saying that they hate the Indians and whatever it is. But it's also a reality that the average American today does not have jobs, at least many of them. So it is a conflict that will grow. I think for us, for developing countries or a country like India, the focus has to be what should more we do to ensure that we can take the next leap, so that instead of Indians going abroad, others can come to India and work. And last but not the least, if India, as Indian voters, we have a problem with Bangladeshis coming into India and working, the American citizen has every right to say, I have a problem with foreigners coming in India and coming to the United States and occupying and taking over my job. This is a social problem as well. We should not say just because they are a little against H-1B visa, it makes them worse than us. It's not so. Back to you.
Let me quickly go across to Sumit Peer as well at this point. Sumit Peer, come in here. Sumit, on what you expect the H-1B policy will be. Will it be scrapped? Will there be changes? What can we expect it to be in this new Trump presidency? And what hints are we getting through these statements coming in from his team?
Uday, thank you very much for having me on your show. And after the three eminent panelists have spoken, I'll take a different angle to this. Look, it is a problem which is there, and this problem is more of political in nature, it's social in nature than the numbers and the counts. Look, H-1B quota is 65,000. Again, it is reserved to various countries. You get these many out of the quota. There's a designated quota. But if you look at a mighty US economy of $29 trillion, how does 65,000 people move a block or move a thing? It does not. But what has it done is that, the challenge is when people like Vivek Ramaswamy start coming into the picture, who is a son of an immigrant. When Elon Musk, who is himself an immigrant, when they're in, he's the next man to the president. He's born in South Africa. He's not American born. So when people like various people from Indian origin are making to the Senate, they are making to the Congress. So that is where the problem starts coming in. Donald Trump, what Pratikit Bhai rightly said, got voted because he talked about this white man, Caucasian identity, American identity, protecting their jobs and making America great again. That was the plank which he was voted in. So then, if you're Mr. Sriram chosen, you have Vivek Ramaswamy there, you have Elon Musk there, all of them have one common story. They all immigrated to US. They were not typical Caucasian Americans born in US. And when these people start taking power echelons, even with Kamala Harris, there were a lot of allegations we should put around her because of the Indian origin, or some people said she had African origin and all other things. So now when these things start raising up, if you are a worker somewhere in a doing a Java, nobody's bothered about you. But If one day that worker becomes a Vivek Ramaswamy, or his son becomes a Vivek Ramaswamy, there's a problem. If that worker becomes Elon Musk, there's a big problem. So Americans don't want that. I want to get you into my society. I give you a foothold. Then eventually you or your next generation become a threat to me. You are running for the president. I mean, that is where the politics of the thing starts. And when politics starts in Uday, there is no logic. Trump is battling a very difficult situation. It's not about few thousand jobs and how much do they make out of the economy. The challenge is, what does a common American perceive about these foreigners coming and taking the jobs? And what they're really worried, which nobody will talk politically, is the second generation. Because second generation is a born American and they have the talent and they can really come up and start asking for their, pie in the bigger scheme of things. That is where they are worried. Now, another challenge here is that when you talk about Indians and Chinese, look, the thing remains. I firmly believe you can change the color of your passport to anything you want. Baal, chal or khal kabhi nahi badalti. Your DNA doesn't change. Your color of passport might change. So we have to, this is the reality of the life. I have seen people, when I was working in France, they're third generation French. The guy was Cambodian. We were doing a work in EADS. The first thing in the bonjour, and then they say, which country? Then he had to explain, I'm third generation Cambodian. My grandfather came from Cambodia. So, when you look at the person, you start asking which country. I mean, I was asked every time, which country do you come from? I said, look, I come from India. So the challenge here is, let's be practical. These are socio-political problems. It's not about few thousand jobs, or it's not about Indians or Chinese or anybody else. It's not how much can we take out of that economy. It's because when you become, let's say, Satya Nadella, problem hai bhai. When you become Sundar Pichai, problem hai. When you become Shantanu, problem hai, you had that of CEO. When you are this, what is his name, the guy Vivek, he's heading the General Atomics. So when you have a American CEO's conference meeting Prime Minister Modi, and you see out of 20 guys, 15 are of Indian origin or 10 of Indian origin, do you think this news doesn't go across the whole of Europe and America and everybody say, how the hell? The Indian Prime Minister is here and 20 American CEOs which are meeting them, out of them 30% or 25% of Indian origin. So they have started coming into Congress, they have started coming into industry, they have started coming everywhere. It is much beyond that what we can digest and we want to digest. So what do? Cut the entry route. What is the entry route? Entry route, there are two entry routes. One is admission, one is H1B. You will see curbs coming on both admissions as well as H1B. So like what Elon Musk is saying, raise the salaries. Let's say today the salary is $60,000. I don't know what is it. Make it $120,000. Then pay $10,000 or $5,000 a month to the government to maintain that H1B visa so that it will become expensive. So the net result of all this is going to be they will come to an intermediate solution because Trump knows he needs smart guys.
Yes.
And Elon Musk comes from an industry background. He knows I need smart guys. But if you look at 65,000 people and the millions of people who are voting for you, Trump, you have to come to a midway. Midway is what? It will be made slowly and steadily more and more unviable. You will even see the fees of foreign students in American universities going up. It is not about 65,000 people. Uday, I'm repeating again. You have 15 million illegal immigrants there. Last year itself, Trump said on record in his campaign, there are 70,000 Chinese soldiers who have come through Mexico, Chinese, these military age people who have come through the Mexican border and who have landed in US, they are from China. So if that is not a problem, why does this become a problem? This is a visible social problem wherein they want to cut the entry routes. Let's understand the problem. It's not about anything else. So if you want to make your life and career, you have to think long term. You might have a good career and life for yourself, but what happens to your second generation, third generation, you will be discriminated. And when we're debating, will Vivek become a president of the United States of America? I have been very clear, he's a very competent guy, but bhai nahi banega. Look at the color of the skin, look at other things. There's a limit where Vivek can go. And having worked and lived in abroad for more than a decade, I can tell you, racism might sound to be a very bad and crass word, but that is the reality of life, sir. We all face it. We have to all live through it. We can talk of DI, we can talk of all the health things, but at the end of the day, every such thing, even the color of the skin, your color of your eyes and hair does matter. Your accents and your origins do matter, and there is discrimination which happens. So we have to be prepared that there's going to be an intermediate ground, and eventually the window might even dry up.
Right. Professor Nalapat, at the end of the day, of course, H1B is something that Donald Trump, interestingly, is also backed, saying that he has many H1B visa holders on his own properties. He's employed them in the past. Also, with the sheer number of Indian Americans on his team who've, got their spot picked, not just because they're Indian origin people, but because of their sheer merit and sheer capability. We don't need to look much further to look at the merits of this scheme.
Look, Uday, I'd like to point out very clearly that there is a difference between illegal immigration and legal immigration. There are some thousands, if not tens of thousands, of illegal Indian migrants to the US, and they're going to be sent back. They are being sent back, and that is the way it should be, because illegal immigration should be stopped, whether it's in India or the United States. The second point I want to make is, frankly, that more and more, I would like to say, there's an increasing acceptance of the reality of a society where people of merit will count and the color of the skin is not so important. Barack Obama was president of the United States. Kamala Harris was vice president of the United States, the same United States that we're talking about. And frankly, Donald Trump has chosen a large number of Indian Americans and African Americans for his team. So the reality is merit is important in a country, and the net contribution is what is important. Those who contribute more in a net way are much more important than those who basically suck out from the system. Now you got in Scandinavia, you got in France, you got in Germany, you got large numbers of people who take much more social security payments than they ever contribute in terms of work, if they work at all. So this is a big issue. And I'd like to point out that this is a two-way process. We have enough brain power. We can retain them here and we can send some there as well. And to and fro, there's a movement of talent, there's a movement of technology, legal movement of technology, and that is happening as we speak. A lot of US companies are now setting up this kind of center in India and making use of Indian talent and at the prices that are there here. They're not going to America, they're coming to India. And this is a normal part of trade in a situation where you have to trade this kind of sensitive technologies among friends and not among foes. And may I remind everyone on this panel, the United States is not a foe of India where democracy is concerned, certainly not under President Trump. It is, we have to call it definitely, we cannot call it a foe. It is a friend of India. And Donald Trump understands the value of Indian Americans. He understands the value of merit. He's kept his money by emphasizing merit in his companies, not by any other way. And I can tell you the whole of American society, we have to ensure only one thing, that the poorest person in America or the poorest person in India gets the opportunities for study, gets the opportunities for education that others get. If we do that, I can tell you the country is on the way to superstardom in terms of economic growth. So let's focus on equality of opportunity, and rather than trying to basically de-emphasize merit as some American institutions are so unwisely doing, Uday.
Uday, can I just make one point?
Very quickly.
Uday, all of us had a problem with Sonia Gandhi trying to be the Prime Minister of India in 2004. So if we can have a problem, the Americans can equally have a problem with Indians taking up the large number of positions.
I take a lot of pride.
Let me finish. So let me please. I was silent. I take a lot of pride with Indians actually taking up these positions, but you cannot blame the average American for having certain kind of disdainment, because we all have it. That's it. Back to you.
Professor Narapan.
Look, I want to say very clearly that, so many tourists come here from Europe, so many Indians go to the United States, so many people come, so much of intermarriage takes place. Frankly, this kind of thing is very 1970s. It is, I've been to the United States multiple times. Let me tell you, Uday, that when people understand that I speak a reasonable degree of English, the discrimination is very much less,
yes.
I can tell you. But Trump has a problem, and that is working class Americans.
Okay.
So the way to solve that problem is to ensure that working class Americans have the education they need to compete in the modern 21st century market.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.